You've done it again. You promised yourself you'd finally say it. You even rehearsed the words in your head. And then the moment comes, and your mouth stays shut. You smile, you nod, you act normal, and you carry the secret back into your chest like a weight you pretend you can handle. But here's the part nobody tells you. Sometimes keeping a secret hurts more than the truth ever could. And still, you keep it. Not because you're weak. Not because you enjoy suffering. But because your brain is trying to protect you in the only way it knows how. Secrets aren't just information you hide. Psychologically, a secret is a threat you manage. It's your mind running a constant silent calculation. If people knew this, what would happen to me? And the scary part is that even when the truth would heal you, even when the secret is poisoning you from the inside, your nervous system may still choose silence, because silence feels safer than uncertainty. Think about the last secret you kept. Maybe it was something you did. Something you felt, something you wanted. Maybe it was a mistake you never admitted. Maybe it was a part of you you're afraid will be rejected. Or maybe it's something you carry because you think you're protecting someone else. What most people don't realize is that secrets don't just live in your thoughts. They live in your body, in tension, in insomnia, in overthinking, in that subtle feeling that you're never fully present, because a piece of your attention is always stuck guarding the locked door. Your brain treats secrets like danger because secrets are social risk. Humans are wired for connection, for belonging, for being accepted by the group. Thousands of years ago, getting rejected didn't just hurt emotionally, it could literally get you killed. So your brain developed a system that prioritizes social safety. And when your brain senses that telling the truth might lead to shame, conflict, abandonment, or punishment, it doesn't care that you're suffering in silence. It cares that you might lose your place in the tribe. That's why keeping a secret can feel like survival. Not logical survival, emotional survival. Because the brain doesn't distinguish between physical threat and social threat the way we think it should. To your nervous system, being rejected can feel like being endangered. So if you grew up in an environment where honesty was punished, where emotions were mocked, where mistakes were treated like failure, your brain learned a brutal rule: silence equals safety. And once that rule is installed, it becomes automatic. You don't even decide to hide things consciously. You just do it. You minimize. You change the subject. You tell half-truths that keep you technically honest, but emotionally invisible. You protect the version of yourself that people tolerate because you don't fully trust that they could handle the real one. One of the strongest reasons we keep secrets, even when they hurt, is shame. Shame isn't just guilt about what you did. Shame is the feeling that what you did means something about who you are. Guilt says, I made a mistake. Shame says, I am the mistake. And shame doesn't push you toward repair. It pushes you toward hiding. That's why people can carry secrets for years. Not because the secret is impossible to share, but because sharing it would mean being seen through the lens of that shame. When you imagine telling someone, you're not just imagining the words. You're imagining their face changing, their tone shifting. You're imagining them thinking less of you. You're imagining losing respect, love, safety. And your brain decides, no, we're not risking that. A real-life example happens in relationships all the time. Someone feels emotionally neglected, but they never say it. They keep the secret pain quiet because they fear being too much. They fear starting a fight. They fear being seen as needy. So instead of speaking, they start withdrawing. The relationship slowly becomes colder, not because they stopped caring, but because they're silently protecting themselves from rejection. Another example is when someone feels like they're falling apart mentally, but they act fine. They laugh, they reply to texts, they do their work, but inside they're exhausted. And they don't tell anyone because they believe their weakness would become a burden. This isn't just personality. This is learned emotional economy. They learned that love must be earned through being easy to deal with. And here's the cruel twist. The more you hide, the more isolated you feel. And the more isolated you feel, the more dangerous honesty becomes. Secrets create a feedback loop where silence strengthens shame, and shame strengthens silence. Your brain also keeps secrets because it loves control. When something painful happens, your mind wants to feel like it has a handle on it. Keeping a secret gives you the illusion that you're managing the situation. If I don't say it, it can't explode. If I don't admit it, it can't change how people see me. It's like holding a fragile glass object and refusing to put it down because you're terrified someone else will drop it, even though your hands are shaking from the strain. This is especially common for people who grew up in unpredictable environments. If you grew up with emotionally unstable parents, or constant conflict or sudden punishments, your brain learned to avoid triggering chaos. In those environments, secrets aren't just secrets. They're stabilizers. They're what you use to keep the emotional temperature from boiling over. There's also a surprising reason we keep secrets: identity protection. Some secrets don't feel like facts. They feel like a threat to who you are. If you believe you're a good person, admitting something you regret might shake your entire self-image. So your brain tries to preserve the identity by burying the evidence. You don't hide it because you want to be fake. You hide it because facing it would force you to rebuild your sense of self. That's why some people can't admit they were wrong, even in small situations. They'd rather defend themselves with anger than feel the collapse of their self-concept. The secret isn't the event. The secret is the vulnerability underneath it. And there's another layer. Secrets often become emotional contracts. You keep a secret not because you want to, but because you feel responsible for what happens if you don't. You think, if I tell the truth, I'll destroy them. Or, if I say this, everything will fall apart. So you carry it, and you become the container for everyone's comfort. This happens in families all the time. A child grows up sensing something is wrong in the house. Tension, addiction, cheating, money problems, but nobody talks about it. The secret becomes the family's invisible law. We survive by pretending, and kids learn quickly. They learn to read moods, to stay quiet, to protect the image of normal. Later in life, those kids become adults who feel anxiety when they speak honestly, because their body still remembers that honesty used to be dangerous. From a brain perspective, secrets are heavy because they demand constant monitoring. When you have a secret, you're not just hiding the information, you're scanning for threats. You're tracking what you said. You're remembering who knows what. You're adjusting your behavior in real time. That creates cognitive load. Your mind is running extra background processes all day long. And that cognitive load has a psychological cost. Research on secrecy often shows that it's not just the act of hiding that hurts you, but the constant internal preoccupation. The secret becomes a mental open tab. You might be sitting in class, at work, with friends, but part of your attention is pulled inward, managing the secret. Over time, that can increase stress, irritability, emotional numbness, and the feeling that life isn't fully real. This is why some people feel exhausted even when nothing big is happening. It's because they're carrying an invisible job, emotional containment. They're working overtime to keep parts of themselves locked away. Now, let's talk about the moment a secret starts hurting. Most secrets begin as protection. You keep it because you're trying to avoid pain. But then the secret becomes its own pain. It starts changing how you see yourself. You might begin to feel fraudulent, disconnected, or unsafe, even around people who love you, because the secret creates a distance between who you are and who you appear to be. And distance is loneliness. You can be surrounded by people and still feel alone when you're hiding. Because connection doesn't come from being liked. It comes from being known. And if you're not known, your nervous system never fully relaxes. You're always bracing, because love feels conditional when it's built on an edited version of you. This is why secrets can feel addictive in a strange way. They keep you protected, but they also keep you trapped. Telling the truth feels like stepping off a cliff, but staying silent feels like slowly suffocating. So why don't we just tell the truth? Because honesty isn't just a moral choice. It's a nervous system event. Your body has to feel safe enough to survive the consequences. And if your nervous system expects danger, it will choose the path it knows: silence. The first step to breaking this isn't forcing yourself to confess everything. The first step is recognizing what your secret is really protecting you from. Ask yourself, what am I afraid will happen if this is known? Rejection? Shame? Conflict? Losing someone? Becoming too much? Once you name the fear, you stop being controlled by a vague disaster fantasy. The second step is understanding that not every truth needs to be told to everyone. Psychological honesty isn't oversharing. It's choosing safe, meaningful honesty. Sometimes the most healing move isn't telling the entire world. It's telling one person who can hold it without harming you. And that brings us to the third step, reality testing. Your brain predicts catastrophe, but predictions aren't facts. The mind often exaggerates outcomes when shame is involved. It creates worst-case scenarios to stop you from acting. But you can challenge that gently. What's the most likely outcome? What evidence do I have? If someone I love told me this, would I destroy them, or would I understand? That last question is powerful because it exposes the double standard of shame. You give other people compassion. You give yourself punishment. You assume your flaw makes you unlovable, while other people's flaws make them human. Saying a secret out loud can be terrifying, but it also rewires the brain. Because the moment you speak it, it becomes shared reality. It's no longer a monster growing in the dark. It becomes something that can be processed, responded to, understood. And even if the reaction isn't perfect, the act of speaking begins restoring your internal freedom. Some people need small steps first. Writing the truth privately, saying it in a voice note, practicing the sentence in a mirror. Not because it's dramatic, but because your body needs exposure. Your nervous system needs to learn, I can survive being seen. And if the secret involves something that still feels too raw, you can start with emotional truth before factual truth. You can say, I've been carrying something heavy. You can say, I've been scared to be honest. You can say, I feel like I'm not fully myself lately. Even that is a door opening. Because the goal isn't just to reveal information. The goal is to stop living a divided life. A secret hurts when it separates you from your own integrity. When you're constantly acting, performing, managing, pretending. But the moment you start moving toward honesty, slowly, safely, intelligently, your brain begins to relax. You stop fighting your own reality. And when you stop fighting reality, you regain energy. You regain clarity. You regain a sense of yourself. So if you're someone who keeps secrets even when it hurts, I want you to hear this. Your silence probably saved you once. Probably kept you safe in a time when truth wasn't welcome. But you're not in that same place forever. And the skills that protected you can become the chains that keep you stuck. You don't have to expose everything. You don't have to blow up your life. But you do deserve one thing. A life where you don't have to hide from the people who are supposed to love you. A life where your nervous system isn't constantly on guard. A life where your truth doesn't feel like danger. Because the most painful part of secrets isn't what they hide. It's what they cost you while you keep them. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do isn't saying the perfect words. It's taking one step out of the dark and letting yourself be real, even if your voice shakes.